Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with the juice to get you through the long night. So Game of Thrones is on the horizon and shit is about to get real. I can't wait, to be honest. I could explode any minute. So Game of Thrones, the trailer, it came out and I had a few people asking me, where's Melisandre? Where did she go? What's she gonna be doing in season 8? And I figured, well, let's talk about it. The last time we see Melisandre, she is at Dragonstone talking to Varys in season 7, episode 3.
So where will you go?
Volantis.
Good.
Oh, I will return, dear Spider. One last time.
My lady.
I have to die in this strange country. Just like you.
So Melisandre says two interesting things. One, that she is going to Volantis, and two, that she would die in Westeros and so will Varys. But the main question is, what could she be going to Volantis for? And you might even be like, what the hell is Volantis? So let's start with the easy parts. In the east, there's Essos, and Volantis is one of the 9 free cities of Essos that was formed by Valyria. Ancient and glorious Old Volantis, as the city is oft named, sprawls across one of the 4 mouths of the Rhoyne, where the mighty river flows into the summer sea. The red god R'hllor is favored by many, especially among the slaves and freedmen of the city. The temple of the Lord of Light in Volantis is said to be the greatest in all the world. In Remnants of the Dragon Lords, Archmaester Gramian claims that it is fully 3 times larger than the Great Sept of Baelor. All who serve within this mighty temple are slaves, bought as children and trained to become priests, temple prostitutes, or warriors. Prostitutes in the temple, what is going on? Anyway, the warriors, little enough is said, though they are called the Firey Hand, and they number more or less than 1,000 members. I have talked before about Melisandre possibly going to Volantis to retrieve the Firey Hand. 1,000 warriors of fire. This is indeed a possibility, but would 1,000 warriors make that much of a difference where she needs to go all the way to Volantis to get them? I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that. So the Temple of R'hllor in Volantis is the biggest temple of R'hllor in the known world. Also, there are many people that preach the faith. On the show, we have seen many, Kinvara and all these different priests, different ladies and men preaching of Daenerys being this prophesized hero. Thoros of Myr and Melisandre. But none of these people are like the head honcho of the faith of R'hllor. So the head honcho of the faith of R'hllor is Benerro of Volantis. Benerro has sent forth the word from Volantis. Her coming is the fulfillment of an ancient prophecy. From smoke and salt was she born to make the world anew. She is Azor Ahai returned, and her triumph over darkness will bring a summer that will never end. Death itself will bend its knee, and all those who die fighting in her cause shall be reborn. Do I have to be reborn in the same body? Asked Tyrion. The crowd was growing thicker. He could feel them pressing in around them. Who is Benerro? Haldon raised an eyebrow. High priest of the Red Temple in Volantis, flame of truth, light of wisdom, first servant of the Lord of Light, slave of R'hllor. So we have Benerro, who is preaching that anyone that dies in Daenerys' cause will be reborn again. And Benerro is the flame of truth, the light of wisdom, the slave of R'hllor. He's a bad man. He could really be helpful in this war for Dawn. Benerro not only has the fiery hand and the queer fire magic, he also has a huge following in Volantis. In Volantis, thousands of slaves and freedmen crowd the temple plaza every night to hear Benerro shriek of bleeding stars and a sword of fire that will cleanse the world. He has been preaching that Volantis will surely burn if the Triarchs take up arms against the Silver Queen. The consensus is that if the Triarchy of Volantis was to rise up against Daenerys, Benerro, his warriors, and his followers would burn the entire city to the ground. And Daenerys would help with her dragons, of course. Benerro is also super badass. Flames leap from his fingers when he talks and stuff. He has some serious fire power. Benerro jabbed a finger at the moon, made a fist, spread his hands wide. When his voice rose in a crescendo, flames leapt from his fingers with a sudden whoosh and made the crowd gasp. The priest could trace fiery letters in the air as well, Valyrian glyphs. Tyrion recognized perhaps 2 and 10. One was doom, the other was darkness. Also, Benerro has sent Moqorro to treat with Daenerys. So Moqorro ends up with Tyrion and later Victarion. So Moqorro is known as the Dark Flame. The wizard was a monster of a man, as tall as Victarion himself and twice as wide, with a belly like a boulder and a tangle of bone-white hair that grew about his face, like a lion's mane. His skin was black. Not the nut brown of the Summer Islanders on their swan ships, nor the red brown of the Dothraki horse lords, nor the charcoal and earth color of the dusky woman's skin, but black, blacker than coal, blacker than jet, blacker than a raven's wing. Burned, Victarion thought, like a man who has been roasted in the flames until his flesh chars and crisps and falls smoking from his bones. The fires that had charred him still danced across his cheeks and forehead, where his eyes peered out from among a mask of frozen flames. Slave tattoos, the captain knew, marks of evil. So Moqorro does actually see visions in the flames, like he sees Tyrion in them, Daenerys, and dragons, but Moqorro's tattoos point to him being a member of the Firey Hand. Moqorro also sees Daenerys in his fires, as Melisandre sees Jon. This great war is all that the religion of R'hllor is based around, so it wouldn't make sense for them to preach about this war nonstop and then not take part in it. So I think it's likely that not only the Firey Hand, but many Red Priests and Priestess will be making their way to Westeros once Melisandre lets them know the Great War has begun. We may see Volantis or Essos one more time, or Melisandre may just pop up with them. So your main question after hearing this might be, well, like, what are they gonna do? What will they do? What difference will they make? And that's a good question. So they have magic. And I want to go back to the Battle of Castle Black because I think this is where the foreshadowing for this actually happens. If you watch my video on Bran being the Night King's target, then this will make a lot more sense. So we need to talk about Vaemir, Sixskins, and Orell. So Orell is a wildling warg, and he has an eagle that he wargs into or skin changes. So Jon ends up killing Orell, and part of Orell remains in the eagle, like a second life, or at least a shadow on the soul, as Bloodraven would say. So Orell's eagle hates Jon Snow. Basically, Orell's consciousness still remains in the eagle, and he doesn't like Jon because Jon killed him when he was a man. But anyway, another warg eventually takes over the eagle. His name is Vaemir Sixskins. When Vaemir wargs the eagle, he can still feel Orell inside there. Orell whispers to Vaemir how much he hates Jon. So like Bran can still feel the children of the forest inside the ravens when he wargs them, Vaemir can still feel Orell inside his eagle. It's called a shadow on the soul. Once a horse is broken to the saddle, any man can mount him, he said in a soft voice. Once a beast's been joined to a man, any skin changer can slip inside and ride him. Orell was withering inside his feathers, so I took the eagle for my own, but the joining works both ways, warg. Orell lives inside me now, whispering how much he hates you, and I can soar above the wall and see with the eagle's eye. So something really crazy happens when Stannis rolls up on Mance Rayder's camp after the battle for Castle Black. So Vaemir is inside the eagle trying to see who's coming. And let me tell you, this is what happens. Banners, he heard Vaemir murmur. I see golden banners. Oh, a mammoth lumbered by, trumpeting a half a dozen bowmen in the wooden tower on its back. The king, no. Then the skin changer threw back his head and screamed. The sound was shocking, ear-piercing, thick with agony. Vaemir fell, writhing, and the cat was screaming too. And high, high in the eastern sky against the wall of clouds, Jon saw the eagle burning. For a heartbeat, it flamed brighter than a star. Wreathed in red and gold and orange, its wings beating wildly in the air as if it could fly from the pain. Higher it flew, and higher still. The scream brought Val out of the tent, white-faced. What is it? What's happened? Vamir's wolves were fighting each other, and the shadow cat had raced off into the trees, but the man was still twisting on the ground. What's wrong with him? Val demanded, horrified. So Vanmir is inside the eagle, flying in the sky, when Melisandre does something that sets it on fire, and she admits this to Jon. You had put the wildlings to flight, and the skin changer Mance had left to guard his queen had went mad when the eagle burned. Jon looked at Melisandre. Some say that was your doing. She smiled, her long copper hair tumbling across her face. The Lord of Light has fiery talons, Jon Snow. So somehow Melisandre kills this eagle with the Lord of Light's fiery talons. This is what Vanmir says about it. His last death had been by fire. I burned. At first, in his confusion, he thought some archer on the wall had pierced him with a flaming arrow, but the fire had been inside him, consuming him, and the pain. Vermeer had died 9 times before. He had died once from a spear thrust, once with a bear's teeth in his throat, and once in a wash of blood as he brought forth a stillborn cub. He died his first death when he was only 6, as his father's axe crushed through his skull. Even that had not been so agonizing as the fire in his guts, crackling along his wings, devouring him. When he tried to fly from it, his terror fanned the flames and made them burn hotter. One moment he had been soaring above the wall, his eagle's eye marking the movements of the men below. Then the flames had turned his heart into a blackened cinder and sent his spirit screaming back into his own skin, and for a little while he'd gone mad. Even the memory was enough to make him shudder. So Melisandre has some ability, or the Lord of Light does, fiery talons. What she did, it killed the eagle, but it also had an effect on Vanmir. He went crazy, and it had an even deeper effect on him, as I will tell you. So during the prologue of A Dance with Dragons, we find out that after the eagle's death, whatever Melisandre did to it, it caused Vanmir to lose control of his other animals. Vanmir is called Vanmir Sixskins, because he's a skin changer with numerous amounts of animals. But whatever Melisandre did causes these animals to turn on him, with the exception of his wolves. All of his animals leave him, but his wolves. Vanmir had lost control of his other beast in the agony of the eagle's death. His shadow cat had raced into the woods, whilst his snow bear turned her claws on those around her, ripping apart 4 men before falling to a spear. She would have slain Vermeer had he come within her reach. The bear hated him, had raged each time he wore her skin or climbed upon her back. His wolves, though. So his wolves stay loyal. He's also had his wolves the longest. Even the wolves wind up fighting each other. Like, it's just madness. But Melisandre does this, burns this eagle magically. Vanmir loses control over some of his animals. Was it the magic that did that? Or the fire? Is the fiery talons like a gift from R'hllor? This could be how the Red Priest and Priestess could help defeat the White Walkers. So according to season 7, the White Walkers are like wargs. They are controlling the dead. So when the warg or White Walker dies, the dead they created seems to die too. But if Melisandre and the Red Priest from Volantis can do what they did to Vermeer to the White Walkers, they can likely turn some of the whites against them, like Melisandre did with Vermeer's other animals. Melisandre could be going to get more Red Priest for this, and also the Firey Hand. I want to know what you think Melisandre is going to Volantis for. I really hope we get to see some more Red Priests showing up using the Firey Hand and the fiery talons. I think it would just be amazing to see. But as always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.